Hello, long time no see. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. You guys will see this Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. And number one, if you do or do not know me, I always jot down my thoughts because it's been 2.5 weeks since I've done an update, so there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about. And also I do two things. I talk about how I feel and symptoms I've been experiencing and things like that. And then I also talk about the data that the nurse and doctors collect, because I feel if you have both the subjective and the objective data and you combine them together, you get a better whole picture. And even with that, they're just good educated guesses. That's all they are. So there we go. Like I said, it's been 2.5 weeks. There was a lot going on. For 1 week, I was pretty much down for the count. This was the 2.5 weeks ago. I could barely move, barely get out of bed. The medicine that the doctors gave me, which I did post last time, worked. I'm up, I'm out of bed, I'm moving around. And yeah, I've got a lot to say. So I have like 6 pages of notes. So tune in for what you do or do not want to watch or whatever. But I think I do end with something really interesting to think about. So either watch the whole thing or just fast forward. Alright, so 2 weeks ago I posted how I had not been doing well with my cough getting so worse. Again, just lying there, not really doing anything. So how have I been over the past 2.5 weeks? Like I said, there was 1 week I was getting better, and then last week my father came to visit and we had some family stuff going on, so that's why I didn't post last week. So what did I learn specifically about my cancer and its progression? And if you don't know, I'm on hospice. I went on hospice in mid-November. So what did I learn after taking the Z-Pak, the steroids, all that stuff to cure and control the cough? So the good news is that the meds worked in regard to the fact that I can actually move and I can get things done around the house again. So I do think I had some sort of infection. The not so great news is that there are some newer symptoms that are not going away, even with the med. So that lets me know that either the cancer has progressed and or the timeline has shortened just a little bit. So the number one thing that doesn't go away, well, sometimes it does, but it's there consistently every day, mostly after I eat, to be honest. My lungs kind of have this, I call them snap, crackle, and pop kind of sound, and this occurs more when my medication wears off. And ironically, when I'm actually super comfortable and trying to rest, and then that kind of like wakes me up again when that happens. So that's a newer symptom. The good news, the bear, which I had named the cough, because I played this meditation game with myself called Don't Wake the Bear, which is lie perfectly still, and if I can really get my breathing very shallow, sometimes that would control it a little bit, but then if I moved or twitched or breathed a little bit normally, it woke the bear. That's just how I play a game in my head. That's mostly contained. You'll see I'm not using any cough drops. I guess I still am coughing a little bit. I don't notice it as much when I'm alone because I don't talk as much when I'm alone. So I almost don't cough hardly at all when I'm by myself. So that has significantly reduced. So that's another good thing. Now, one of the things that my nurse asked me is, what is your pain level? And I keep telling her I don't really have any pain. So I've been really thinking about that. Well, I don't have pain. I do have what I'm calling agitation. So over the past 2 weeks, I've been really experiencing, especially last week, and even up until Sunday, I'm going to talk about what really calms this agitation for me. This agitation comes about for two things. Number one, from that wheezing, and I don't know how to describe it. It feels like there's like a light flapping in my chest. That's the only way I can describe it. And then when that happens, it ramps up my central nervous system because it kind of is like annoying me. And before I found all these other things I found that I talk about in a little bit to calm all that down, I was really trying to take some serious cocktails to just knock my central nervous system down. I found it before I was given all the medication for the cough from the doctor, with my own medication that I already had access to, which was the morphine, the cough medicine that had codeine in it, the Robitussin. And I'm like, you know what, I just need something. And so I took NyQuil. And those three things knocked me out, and it did a great job, but it only lasted for like 2 or 3 days. And when I was reading about NyQuil and over-the-counter sleep aids, what I thought was interesting, and I didn't know, and maybe you do or don't, basically they're antihistamines. And so they'll market them as antihistamines, let's say when it's like 25 mgs, but when they crank it up to like 50 mgs, then they market it as an over-the-counter sleep aid. And your body gets used to it, and so it won't work. And that is actually what I found. I would say that this agitation occurs 1 to 3 times per day. And it can range anywhere from like number 1, like just being annoying, like a mosquito around you all the time. Although when I'm awake, I'm getting a little bit more used to it, as long as it doesn't make me cough too much, which basically looks like me just sitting on the sofa watching TV. I would say that it can ramp up to an agitation level of about 5 or 6 out of 10, which sometimes occurs just before I want to go to sleep, ironically, but also when I am up moving. At first, when I first shift from sitting down for a long time, and or I'm moving at a faster pace that requires me to breathe more, that's when you're really gonna hear me struggle, and that agitation and central nervous system might crank up. So there's that. This agitation can last anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes or more if I am up and moving about for longer than 90 minutes, which is something that I'm going to talk about with my nurse tomorrow or today when you see this, because I'm seeing her Wednesday this week instead of Monday. I'm going to tell her to ask me what my agitation level is, in addition to or instead of my pain level. So terminal agitation is a thing in hospice. It is a hospice term, and now I know what it means. It means that I am not in pain, but I am uncomfortable, and my nervous system just feels ramped up, and it's causing me in my case, to cough more and or become easily agitated. Now, my medication I have found can also cause me to become agitated. Sometimes I can feel those chemicals in my brain. In fact, some of my family or friends may hear me say once in a while, like, I'm sorry, I'm on drugs, I'm just easily agitated right now. And at least I'm able to communicate that. So that's something to keep in mind. If you know anyone who's on any kind of medication, doesn't have to be hospice medication, that really can affect their brain. And so try to be patient, because they might not be able to communicate that as easily as I can. Now, what I have found in the past like 24 hours, maybe going more than that, basically Sunday is when I discovered this, and today's Tuesday, I found something that I call the 5 M's, and the 5 M's have really helped me a lot. Okay, so what are the 5 M's? For me, it is meditation. That's something I've done this whole time. Again, don't wake the bear. It's where I'll sit there and I'll go here, but really specifically, meditation with music. So I will put in my earbuds, which I thought I was gonna do today for this video, but I didn't. And I have like a 7 or 8 hour meditation playlist. My favorite one is called, I think it's called Sleep Tube. And so maybe I'll put that link below. But there's a couple of those and I listen to it consistently. And it also cues my body like, oh, when you hear this music, you're gonna start calming down. So meditation with music, that's my first M. My second M, and what I'll do is I'll pause a little bit after this and I'll put in a video that I made a couple days ago when my chair just first got set up. So one of the things that my coworkers did, which was wonderful, is they put a bunch of money into my Venmo account. And so I want to tell my coworkers, thank you very much. I bought a recliner that has massage and heat on it, and that I could also sleep in, because I was finding a couple things around Christmas. I slept in my father-in-law's recliner, and that just seemed easier for me to sit up a little bit. Also, one of the things I'm finding, if I'm trying to lay still at night and not wake the bear, if my husband's moving around, and it's not his fault. I mean, in the past I didn't notice it at all, but obviously now I'm noticing that, and that might wake the bear a little bit. So I bought this massage chair. So I'm gonna take a time out for a minute so you can see how that helps me and what it looks like. So my husband finally set up my chair for me yesterday. This is what I bought with the money that my coworkers gave me. I'm going to get a little light for this little side table here, but I have everything that I could need. iPad, earbuds, my med list. It is super comfy. It has 2 remote controls. This one is so that you can put your feet up and that you can lie down. And this one is the massage and heat. So this one is the heat. And then this one's the massage. Has a lot of different settings, but I find I like the wave. So I know I just hit this button 4 times. And then I get the wave feature. And it has a timer. I like it on for an hour or so. All right, I haven't put any makeup on or anything yet, but oh, maybe I should turn it off so I don't have fan voice. Thank you, coworkers. You are the best. I'm actually using this to sleep at night, and I'm going to talk about the 4 M's that I've finally discovered really help keep my cough and what I call the crackle under control. All right, so the 5 M's, the first one is meditation with music. The second one is my massage chair, and it doesn't have to be the chair. It could be any kind of massage. So if you know anyone in your life who is going through hospice or anything, massage can be a very good thing. Number 3, morphine. I've kind of started moving away my cough medicine with the codeine because I haven't been coughing as much, and I've been using my morphine a little bit more again, but I don't use it every 4 to 6 hours. I generally use it only just before I'm going to go to sleep. So I really only use it 2 to 3 times per day. Once when, if I'm going to take a nap, I will use it. Sometimes I don't even need to take a nap during the day. I will use it just before bed. I have found that when it kind of starts wearing off, could be anywhere from 12:30 at night to 3:30 in the morning or something like that, I will take a second dose. So morphine really does help calm my nervous system down. The other thing, I'm not sure as much if this has been working, but I do think so, Mucinex. I've been using that twice a day. And then not chest or cough related or central nervous system related, but digestive related, because I already had digestive issues. But even if you don't have digestive issues, morphine can slow things down too. So I take milk of magnesia. So those are the 5. That increases your water contents in your bowels and causes the muscles to relax. So those are the 5 M's: meditation, massage, morphine, Mucinex, and milk of magnesia. And there's an S at the end of it, which is also for digestion, which is senna. Now, I just knew it was senna, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I looked it up, and it says that senna is a fruit pod or leaf of the senna plant. So it's actually natural. You can find it in, I'm not sure where to find it though. I didn't look that part up. But basically what it does is it has chemicals called senosides. Senosides irritate the bowel, which has a laxative effect. So between my milk of magnesia and my senna, we're good to go. And my medical things that I did even before all of that. Do my 5 M's cure everything? Well, yes and no. When I am in full rest and I have access to my 5 M's, yes. I mean, I'm very comfortable, like super comfortable. When I'm up and about, most of the time, it kind of controls things, but so you're gonna see me move really slow. If I'm up and about and I'm carrying things or walking, I might need to take a pause. I might need to stop and catch my breath. I might cough a little bit more. Yesterday when I was walking a little bit, I noticed my left hip was hurting a little bit. Again, if I take really deep breaths, you might hear me cough. So it doesn't cure everything. Obviously, I have a terminal illness, so I'm not supposed to be cured. So I should say it does manage the symptoms quite well, but I also have to, again, have that balance between being up and moving and also resting. Again, I would say during the morning and day, that is better for me. And then as the afternoon and evening goes on, you'll see me sitting around a lot more. So yes, and it doesn't cure everything, and I shouldn't say the word cure because we're not there. It does manage all my symptoms when I'm trying to sleep, and it manages them pretty well when I'm sitting down. Even when I'm getting up and walking around a little bit, it manages them, but the more active I am, the deeper breaths I'm gonna take, the more you're gonna see the symptoms popping up. Also, I've actually been having people drive me around a lot more because I feel it's probably not a good idea to be driving around while I'm drugged up on narcotics and easily agitated. So that's something that I've been increasing. Do I feel the cancer? Yes and no. Again, when I'm up and about, I might feel it a little bit more. The cancer is in my sternum. I really feel a lot of stuff going on, like around my left rib and lung and in my lower back a little bit. Sometimes it feels kind of like tight and warm. My hip might be a little pinchy or painful when I'm walking. Sometimes if I'm sitting and I'm kind of comfortable, it almost feels warm and like it's sucking the energy out of me. And that's when you might see me start to kind of close my eyes or whatever. It kind of makes me sleepy. The nodules within my lungs make me feel like there's a lot of times there's something in there that I cannot cough up or move at all. It creates that flapping, wheezing thing. But again, that massage really, really helps. And my chair kind of shakes me, and either it shakes me to the point where I can't really feel that wheeze or flap, and or maybe it does stir some things up. I don't know, but it really works really well. Another symptom that I'm noticing is more rest. I am sleeping in for now, which people might laugh. I used to get up at like 3:33 in the morning. Now I'm gonna get up at 5:55 in the morning, sometimes 7 or 7:30 in the morning. That really helps keep my cough and the crackling under control. Oh yeah, so just resting in general really helps keep that cough and that crackling under control. So when I've been feeling that cough or that crackling, I might choose to go sit in my chair and put that massage feature on. So that might actually increase the amount of time that I'm going to be resting. You know, I've heard on other hospice talks that people who are not on hospice or not patients, but they observe, they see things like, oh, the morphine makes them more relaxed, or in my case, the chair might make her more relaxed, so it's hurrying up the terminal process. But from a hospice nurse perspective, and especially since I'm not a hospice nurse, a patient's perspective is what it's doing is we are up and awake, but we might be agitated. Our symptoms might be exceedingly uncomfortable, which is why we're awake. But the morphine or the massage or the chair makes us so comfortable that we are able to relax and go to sleep. So the massage and the morphine are actually making it possible for us to relax, which is why we might be sleeping more. So yeah, I am noticing that I am sleeping in a little bit more. And sometimes I might go rest more if have been experiencing that crackling or coughing, because it's annoying and it's agitating and I don't want to feel that way, where my chair makes me feel very comfortable and relaxed. So it might actually cause me to increase my sleeping and rest. For example, Sunday, the first day I got that chair, I was in it almost all afternoon and all night, and a lot into the next morning. Now with that said, Monday I was busy and I didn't rest much. But when I am almost pushing myself because I feel like there's something I want to do or have to do or I need to be there for, I needed to stop, I needed to rest. I might have more pain in my hip, and sometimes I can even feel my heart start to almost hurt a little bit. And so when that happens, I know I definitely need to go rest. The last thing that I'm noticing a little bit more of is nausea. And it's not too bad. It's not like morning sickness when you're pregnant or feeling like you absolutely have to throw up. It's more like if I'm reading in the car and I start getting that feeling of nausea, but then you close the book and you just kind of have like a really mild feeling of it. I've been noticing that a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure where this is coming from. Maybe it's too many meds at times. Maybe it's not eating enough at times, and maybe sometimes it's eating too much for my body at times. So it could be a variety of reasons why I'm experiencing that nausea. I do have anti-nausea medicine within my med pack, and so I have been taking that when I feel that way. The other thing that I've noticed is no bueno. It's not good to drink too much when I'm on my medication. It seems like 8 ounces of a glass every once in a while is okay. But if I have 2 glasses, not good. So I'll be cutting back on alcohol a lot. Okay, so now on to the more objective data that the nurses and doctors gathered. I had 2 doctor's appointments last week on Monday, and then Monday was my nurse and Tuesday was my doctor. So I'll just kind of talk about the data. My blood pressure for both of them was normal to low or a little low. And this is not surprising. When I looked it up, it said that that's just a sign of the decline. So I'm kind of right that the journey is a little bit shorter now than maybe it was. Like maybe we're not down to 6 months, maybe we're down to 5 months or so. And I'm going to explain what I mean when I say that in just a little bit. My temperature was normal. My pulse, which is like the blood pressure, was low to normal, which is another sign of decline. My respiration rate is constantly high normal. It's like the highest number you can get, like 20, which makes sense because, again, I'm having a lot of lung issues. But even with that, my oxygen saturation is still pretty good, 96 to 97%. That's because it's like one set of lungs is really having the issues and the other set of lungs is okay. So I don't feel like I need oxygen at this time, although I'll probably talk to my nurse about one of the things I have been thinking, because I do experience it very rarely. Like just a moment. It doesn't last very long of not getting enough oxygen. So I think I'd rather be proactive rather than retroactive and have oxygen on hand if and when I need it. So I'll be looking at that. I did a post, just a written post last week on Facebook. I'm going to add my weight and my BMI to the nurse data. So this is kind of funny. My nurse always asks me, how much do you weigh? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a scale. Because I learned a long time ago when I looked at that number on the scale, it made me feel bad. And there's always that, quote, they say it more about anger, but I say that about anything that hurts you. It's like holding on to a hot coal. If it hurts me, looking at a stupid number on a scale, why would I do it? So I don't have one. I just decided to start dressing nice and comfortably and doing my hair and makeup, and I felt good about myself. So that's what I did instead of a scale. But for my case, it is good to have data because it is a sign of decline when you start losing weight. On Tuesday, they did weigh me, and even when I was, when I've been looking in the mirror, and even when I was setting up today, it's like, oh yeah, you can see in my face, it's a little bit thinner. I can tell my stomach is thinner. I'm 155. So this is kind of interesting. I swear to God, I was 178 like a year or so ago. I think in November I was like 167 or something like that. So it just depends on what 2 points you're measuring. I've lost like 10 to 12 pounds since November. It's like 3 to 4 pounds per month. If you do need 1,500 calories a day and I'm only eating 500 to 1,000, I'm probably going to keep losing weight. Luckily, I had some to begin with, and I have a lot of muscle still. So but that, again, is another sign of decline. So let's look at that 6-month checklist, because again, there's a 6-month checklist, a 3-month checklist, a weeks and a days. I still look at the 6-month checklist. I can still take care of myself. I'm still my own caregiver at this point, even though it does take a lot to just care for myself. Like, it's already 12:30 p.m. and it's taken that long just to go through my emails and calls and get ready and do all that stuff, and just do a few chores. I was even thinking to myself today, like, how did I used to get so much done in a day? So, but with that said, I can still take care of myself, and I'm still my own caregiver. I am still hungry and thirsty, although that is dwindling quite a bit. I am finding that eating is hard. Like, sometimes it's kind of hard to swallow a little bit. I've been noticing that a little bit more. Before, it was just like crackers were kind of hard to swallow, and I needed chicken broth or something to help it. But then this past week, I noticed when I was eating celery, it was a little hard to swallow. Yesterday, when I was eating chicken a little bit, it was hard to swallow. So that's another sign of decline. And also, the time you're gonna hear me cough and struggle the most is almost right after I eat. That's a consistent symptom. Like, after I eat, you're gonna probably hear me cough and wheeze and gurgle and crack the most. So sometimes I don't like to eat because I don't like to cough and gurgle and crack and all that other stuff. I know I still have to. I know I still do. But it might start getting less and less. And so that, again, is another sign of decline. And they do say to don't ever force someone who's on hospice to eat. Just like the body knows how to do a lot of things, the body also knows how to die. So I'm not like suffering because I'm not eating or drinking a lot. In fact, I actually feel better. My body knows what's best for me. So that's something that I've heard hospice nurses say, and as a patient, I would fully agree. They say you can offer things to us, but don't ever force anything. I've also heard sometimes if people force fluids and stuff into a person, it could actually like almost drown them internally. So, anyway, there we go. I am kind of hungry. I'm still eating like 500 to 1,000 calories a day or so. But it is getting to be a little bit more of a struggle, and don't be surprised if you have a meal with me soon after you hear a lot of like that coughing and that wheezing. I used to be able to do, let's say, 3 to 4 small chores consistently every day. Now I can still do maybe like 2 or 3 chores per day. So that's slowing down just a little bit. Again, I've kind of mentioned every once in a while when I push myself, I feel a little bit of stress on my heart. Sometimes I feel a stress on my pancreas if maybe I'm eating too much or take too much meds or something like that. And when that happens, I try to rest or back off some things. I already kind of talked about the chewing and the swallowing. I'm also going to add to this cognitive abilities to my weekly checklist. For as I begin to decline, my cognitive abilities are going to be declining as well. So far, I think my cognitive abilities are good. I still check my email every day. I'm still able to write, speak coherently. I'm able to keep up with my own and even my family's activities, make appointments and phone calls. I even did our taxes already, so that's good. Now, there was one thing that I'm noticing here or there, like blips. And they're just blips right now, and it's not a big deal. One of my examples is super stupid. Like, I was 100% sure we had Sloppy Joe sauce in the cupboard. Like, 100% sure. And I was just scouring the cabinet for it because I'm like, I know it's in here. Like I was even talking to myself. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a different timeline or dimension because I know it was in here. Luckily, I do know how to make sloppy joes without a pre-canned sauce. So I eventually just gave it up. And as I started to cook, I'm like, wait, maybe I did actually use it, but when was that? So there are blips here and there, but for the most part, my cognitive abilities are fine. Some people say the blips are just old age, but whatever. Speaking of blips, I also feel blips in my energy. Some days I have more, like yesterday, and other days I don't. I used to be like really excited to write and do poetry and stuff in the morning. And even this morning I found myself actually excited again, but like a day or two ago, I just didn't feel it. And all I really kind of wanted to do was just play my silly games and watch TV. So sometimes it can kind of wave on my energy, what I feel like, and my motivation. You know, I think some days I feel like I've said everything I need to say, and I've posted everything that I think about on TikTok and YouTube. So what else do I need to do? But today I actually had, I'll talk about this in a minute. I'm constructing answers for an interview with a pen pal that I have in India who has a blog. And I was kind of excited to one of his questions, so I'll read that in a little bit. I will say, since I got my chair, I actually feel a lot happier. Like if my family is over for our family Sunday dinners, instead of me feeling guilty, like I might be feeling tired and want to go upstairs and rest, I can still be in the living room with everybody, or if I have guests over, I can still be comfortable, and if I doze in and out of sleep or something, I don't feel as guilty. So actually having that chair, thank you again to my coworkers, has really helped a lot. Okay, so I did kind of allude to previously, like a month ago, I said I still feel like I have 6 months. And then last week and this week, I said I think we're down to like 5 months or so. So what do I mean, at least in my head, when I say that? So in my head, 6 months, I go through the 6 months checklist and I look at the subjective and objective data. And so before, when it wasn't as hard to swallow, I might have been eating more, I could do a little bit more chores, things like that. Every day when I wake up and I can do those things like a checklist, I actually reset every day. 6 months to live. So 5 months to live. So even though I say I feel like I might only have 5 or 4 months to live, probably 5 or whatever, every morning when I wake up and I can actually go through that checklist and say, I can still do this, I can still do that, I can still do this, I'm resetting that 5 months in my head every day. So really what I mean is, before my timeline was longer, it was 6 months or more. Now I'm saying my timeline is a little shorter, 5 months or more. So that's just a game that I play in my head. Don't hear me say I only have 5 months and think exactly 5 months from today I'm gonna die. That's not how it works. Every day that I wake up and I'm able to go through that checklist, I reset the 5 months or so. So just so you know what I'm doing and what I'm thinking in regard to when I say I have 6 or 5 months less. It's more the decline is starting to happen, and I do have a shorter amount of time, but nobody really knows for sure the exact date or time. All right. So also my 5 M's in my chair seem to help me. So I do have some time and some energy in me. last, I told you this was gonna be a long video today. What are my upcoming plans? So, like any other day, it's just to go with whatever energy and feeling I have that day. Do what I can do when I can do it, even if that means doing a little bit less. Sometimes I am finding myself saying things like, oh, I can do that, or we can do that, I can meet you at this time. But what I'm really learning to say now is, we'll see how I feel when that day and time comes, because again, the thing that's been consistent is the inconsistency. It might take me longer to get ready that day. I may or may not have as much motivation or energy that day. One example is we were talking about maybe fondue for the next family meal, and I'm realizing that's a lot of work and I don't have energy for that. So we had crock pot chili instead. Little things like that. So that's one thing I'm starting to learn. I am not gonna make any super future plans. I do have some plans for friends coming to visit, but rather than saying, oh, this is what we're gonna do that day, it might even be just coming and being with me while I'm in the living room in my chair, and who knows, it might be more common that I fade in and out of being alert when people are there. So that's one thing that I'm mentally preparing for and trying to kind of course correct a little bit, and one thing that I want my friends and family to know. I'm open for visitors and things like that, but please note, I don't know if I'm really going to go out of the house. If I am tired at a certain point, I might fade in and out of consciousness, so bring a book, or we can watch a Netflix show or something like that. Also, I plan on still making phone calls and creating as stable of an environment for my family. And I'm still trying to visit or have people visit me. So those are the main things. But this was the very, very last thing that I wanted to talk to that I alluded to. So again, I have a pen pal in India, Jaideep, and we are in the process of creating an interview about the importance of leaving behind a digital legacy. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at one of the questions that he asked me, because it really ties into my upcoming plan. He made me think about something that I didn't really think about before. So this idea actually came from me because, as you may or may not know, I do feel it is really important for me to put a lot of my social media up so that when I am gone, my children and maybe even future family members can have access to who their grandmother was, because that will probably be something that I won't be able to experience, but then maybe my future family members can experience who I was through digital social media. So our whole interview is going to be about that, and if we don't do it via Zoom or in person and it's just written, then maybe I will share his questions and my answers when I'm done with them. But today I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. So his question was, how do I envision my children and future family members engaging with my digital presence? Is there something specific I hope they revisit or learn from it? So this was my answer that I came up this morning. It's literally raw and real. It was just whatever first came up. This question actually made me stop and think. At first I was going to say I answered this when I was discussing the answer to question 2. When I realized the importance of preserving digital content in my answer, the final moment I realized the importance of preserving my work, not just for myself or to get followers or likes, but for now, my children have access to my thoughts and feelings long after I'm gone. And not just for them, but for other family members and future family members that aren't even born yet. But what I may actually do, thank you to this interview and this question specifically, is create additional content that expresses more of my personality rather than just my reflections and insight on the world. I do love to read stories. I love to sing songs. In addition to being a writer, I'm a teacher and I'm a mother. So thank you. I think this new content will be a way for me to be with my children and perhaps their children when I am no longer here. It'll be a way for them to go back to hear me sing in the car or share lullabies with their own children or the stories that I used to sing and tell them. So I think that I'm going to be adding to my social media about once a week, either Saturday or Sunday. And I think, again, I'm a teacher. I love alliteration, so it might be like story or song Saturday or Sunday. And I might actually read a story or sing a song that I used to love to sing or tell my children when they were little. Not for likes, not because I'm a great singer. I'm not. I dropped out of choir in 7th grade because someone used to bully me, but that's a different story. But for still being able to access my true personality, and not just my spiritual deep thoughts, because there is this whole other side of me that a lot of people only get to see when they're close to me. A lot of times I've heard people say, I didn't know you were like that. I didn't know you were silly. I didn't know you were sang. Or when they hear me tell a story, they realize that I actually do have a lot of personality. So I might start adding some of that to my social media. The point of all of this, almost 35 minutes later, is that I do still have some time, even if the path is a little bit shorter. And there's still a whole lot of living to do by leaving even more better stuff behind. And I really hope for you that it doesn't take a terminal illness to start learning the value and the beauty of living and not just existing.